Why did that teacher get fired from your school? She embezzled thousands of dollars from various club funds. There were also rumors of her sleeping with students. But the administration never bothered to look into that. High school gym teacher. Apparently he showed up to a hotel room expecting to bang a 13-year-old but got busted by the cops instead. Arrested by the FBI for credit card fraud. It was a few months after the arrest when the reason why he disappeared came out in the open. Our new band teacher was a young guy. Fresh out of college, his first year teaching, and he embezzled about $1,000 from the band's funds. He got arrested and his possible future career ruined for $1,000. Probably my favorite part of the story was that he went by the name Mr. E. So once he was gone, the ruthless band kids referred to him as Mr. Embezzlement. I had a teacher with a gambling addiction claim thousands of dollars collected under his care was lost. School never reported it in and protected him because he was close to retirement. Explained elasticity by pulling the bra strap of a girl. Another one for having relationship with a girl from 8th grade, 14 yo. Hey Susie, come here so I can explain the female reproduction to the class. She was always drunk and drinking during class. She would leave us to cry in the bathroom. Wow, that's sad. They pretty much invented my high school French class grades to cover her drinking. Then I transferred schools and they were surprised at how little French I knew. I had such good grades. He didn't come to parent-teacher interview night. The next day, he was late for class and crashed his pickup into a brick sign outside the school. Cops showed up obviously and allegedly he blew twice the legal limit. He called the principal a cunt as he was taken away. Dating a 16-year-old student. He was the band teacher. He also had a wife and kid. He went to jail and is now a registered sex offender. He got arrested driving through Nevada over the summer with 5 pounds of weed in his car that he'd bought in California. He had no intention on telling the district and we only found out because a news reporter from the town he was arrested and contacted our superintendent for a quote on the matter. He was let go immediately. This one is sad. This reminds me of Half-Baked where that good kindergarten teacher gets arrested because he killed a horse feeding it too much sugar and it had diabetes. One of the elementary school teachers at the district I went to got arrested for making his class worship him like he was a cult leader. He was totally bonkers. I had a football coach like that. He made us call him God. I signed out of the team pretty quickly. Students laughed she ate toothpaste. Turns out she was an alcoholic trying to cover her breath. Oh boy, where to start. Elementary school nurse was fired for taking the kids' medications. HS band teacher slept with a 15-year-old. Swim coach left a hotel that he was at with his mistress drunk and killed someone with his car. My high school had like 400 students. She had fallen off the wagon and was drinking a lot to the point where it was affecting her memory. We kept doing the same lecture on density in 6th grade science for a month. Until one my classmates decided to ask another teacher about it. From there she went to rehab. If anyone wants more context, she was our homeroom and science teacher. She was very nice, and married to our assistant principal, so she had a little bit more leeway. While she was able to remain sober for a while, she eventually passed away due to the effects of her addiction a few years after this. She never seemed like a bad teacher. But she was always stressed to the absolute maximum. Always felt like she was working from behind. And generally struggling to keep up. You know, the traditional tail end of the functioning addict lifestyle. Female PE teacher. She got caught sniffing a girl's underwear while she was showering. Imagine getting out of the shower and seeing your teacher with her nose in your fucking underwear. WTF is wrong with people? Middle school PE teacher walked into the girls' wardrobe and asked if he could watch one of them change their tampon as a joke. Sending nudes to a student. What the fuck? She wasn't young either. A coworker teacher got fired 2 weeks in the new semester. When instead of uploading a video related to his subject, he instead accidentally continued a previously paused hardcore lesbian scene on the big interactive screen. The computer he was using was slow and shitty too, so he couldn't quickly exit the video. It went on for a good 30 seconds before someone pulled the plug on the screen around the same time he lobbed the laptop about 30 feet across the class. Yikes. This one's so horrible but also so plausibly completely accidental. I definitely believe it was accidental to show it. But why on earth was he watching porn while at his job? Teaching children? That's the part where this should have been completely avoided. Instead, it would have been much less a problem if it was, say, a video on why the Star Wars prequels are the worst or something else SFW. I assumed it was a laptop or something he'd been watching at home. Still incredibly stupid to watch porn on a work laptop. But it doesn't necessarily mean he was watching it while there were kids in the room. I used to use those free TV websites that had nefarious pop-ups. I remember in college opening my laptop, near the front row for all to see behind me, of course, to busty Russian MILFs in your area. But if he was watching porn at school with students in the room. Ick. I'm a high school teacher and I once had a student bring me her laptop to ask for help with an assignment. One of the open tabs was something along the lines of, Hentai Fantasy Island. I asked her what it is and she said, "Oh, I'm not sure," and tried to switch to it. I told her not to switch to it and closed the tab. Apparently it was a pop-up that opened due to the illegal streaming website she also had tabbed. My math teacher was a volunteer first responder in NY. She left school to help out during 9/11 and was fired for not showing back up for 2 weeks. Wasn't a teacher but our vice principal. Essentially our principal bumped her twin niece's class ranks up to valedictorian and salutatorian. The vice principal, one of the nicest guys I've ever met and a truly amazing guy, did what was right and confronted the school board and told them that this was unfair to those who actually earned those ranks. Those twins were some of the most average people I've ever encountered in my life and they didn't work nearly as hard as the other candidates for the spot. It doesn't help that everyone on the school board including the superintendent was related to the principal. Thus, our heroic vice principal was fired and it was a shock to the whole school. They tried covering it up by saying he didn't have the proper documentation education to be in his position. Though if that was the case, I'm not sure why they would hire him and let him stay for the first 2 years of my high school career. Everyone knew it was a sham and the local news actually got involved when I called them during lunch. That next football game, NBC showed up and there was a protest outside of the local library. I printed out almost 100 flyers that read, "What are you gonna do? Fire me? Save Lightfoot." The entire school was pissed and the twins' ranks were promptly demoted back to 21st and 22nd in our class, though not until the next school year started. Geeky AV teacher that everyone loved. Knew he was a geek and owned it. Caught in a predator sting trying to solicit underage girls. The kicker was a spring school levy was coming up. Local police conspired with the school district to hide the charges for 3 weeks until the levy was passed. Someone substituted his class for 3 weeks. Yay, everyone was both devastated and pissed. The district ended the school year early. 2 teachers. They got caught fucking in a classroom. 2 teachers at my middle school, man and woman, would often walk into the bathroom together. They straight up fucked during passing periods. Talk about risky public sex. Anyone could have walked in on them at any moment. Lol. To be fair, it was a staff bathroom. They could lock the door and other teachers would just have to wait. The principal of my elementary school got fired the first year he was hired. Or took leave before he was arrested. I'm not actually sure which came first. So a couple kids in my 4th grade class thought they'd prank the science teacher by pouring iodine and bleach into his coffee when he wasn't looking. The teacher tasted it as soon as the drink hit his tongue and immediately spit it out. He grilled the class and the kids admitted to it and got sent to the principal's office. The principal found out which of them physically poured the chemicals into the coffee. Then took him into the bathroom to discipline him, hit him. Apparently he grabbed the bottom of his jaw while screaming in his face. You could hear him echoing through the hallway. Then he squeezed hard enough that the boy started crying. So he slapped him across the face and told him to stop crying. The kid's dad was a lawyer, by the way. Suddenly cops were in the building and our new principal was out the door. Fun fact, one of those kids ended up becoming the local LSD dealer in high school. He showed up to a house party at my friend's house and spiked his 55-gallon fish tank with acid. Nice expensive fish too. Oscars. Lionfish. etc. All of the fish died. Our beloved teacher, Mr. Mound, had worked there for 29 years without incident and was one of the best teachers there. His classroom was always a laugh riot. He was the best roaster and encourages us to roast him properly. He never failed to get us motivated, and a lot of us owe our career inspiration from him. He was fired because he had jokingly smacked a student on the back of his head for making a stupid comment. It was like something out of a sitcom, and all of us expected it and loved it. Yet one student, who was new at the school, was culture shocked by this. He thought it was strange but hilarious. He told his mom offhandedly, and his mom became the Karen. Never mind that the student was the teacher's godson. No physical contact was allowed, says the Karen. He was suspended with pay for 3 months pending investigation, then was let go because the Karen twisted the story and it blew up around the school. A year later, teacher won both the lawsuit against the school and libel case against the Karen, with her son being one of the key witnesses. We still keep in contact and roast him for getting rich over smacking kids around. He straight up didn't show up to work one Monday. Didn't call in to arrange a sub or anything. He ghosted the school for a whole week and then tried to come in the following Monday like nothing happened. We also had a 5th grade teacher overdose on meth, but I honestly don't know if she got fired or resigned. It didn't happen at school. My grade 2 teacher also got fired for not showing up. She did at least make plans for a sub most of the time, but we went weeks without seeing her. Him and his college buddies invited an underage student over to his house for drinks. They then proceeded to drug and rape her. He still kept his job for a while after the fact because the girl was terrified and didn't know what to do, so she told her friends, which then made the story spread like wildfire, and all the people in a position to do something about it thought it was just a prank. Well, turns out it wasn't a prank. He got sent to prison. Considering it was a drugging and gang rape of a minor, he's probably out by now. I guarantee you he left the state because everyone and their angry redneck dad with a 12 gauge knew about what he did. He was caught trying to solicit a child prostitute during a sex trafficking sting. He was a social studies teacher at my middle school, and the arrest made local news when I was a freshman. Really shocked the district. This sounds like my middle school's Mr. Leonard. He was a total pedophile. When one girl ran out of his class crying because he grabbed her ass, she reported him and he got fired. But then so many parents complained because they loved him, that the school brought him back. It was a whole ridiculous situation. She wasn't enforcing detention, letting students leave early, or just signing their name for them. She was also the mom of a student. They fired her, and all the students that regularly received detention rioted. Jumping on cars, flipping trash cans, they set one on fire, and pulled the fire alarm 7 times in a day. I forget how it was quelled, but it only lasted a day. My AP Chem teacher had an affair with the principal. Principal got fired too. I felt bad for her. They didn't do anything on school property, and it didn't impact her performance in the classroom. Also, the school wasn't able to find a qualified teacher to replace her halfway through the year. So we were all fucked come test time at the end of the year. Not one of us passed that AP test. I heard a rumor that my favorite teacher from 9th grade got fired when I was in 10th grade because he left his class unattended. This one is actually sort of rather sad. Had an amazing, but eccentric, math teacher who was incredibly involved with helping students. He made sure to always cover his bases, so there was nothing really creepy about him. The year I left high school, was a senior at this time. Went on to finish my GED, he was fired. Shortly after, news an article that he had killed himself with a self-inflicted gunshot. What had happened during this period of time was a student had come forward to the administration and accused him of sexual misconduct, both of them being males, and unfortunately there was no real way to prove a negative for the missing time outside of school hours. So they promptly let him go. Being a gay, black teacher in South Texas. Rough. He wrote a letter basically denying all of the accusations, but had come to the grim realization that at his age, his career was effectively over. So he shot himself in the head. Later, the student who made the accusations came forward and said he had fabricated the entire event because he was failing his grades and angry. The whole event was quietly swept under the rug. RIP Mr. Ethan. You were a good person who was cut down by others' selfishness.